Good morning. Don't normally do a Sunday. Anyhow, this video's, I reckon it's pretty important because using this particular machine and that particular machine, which is the same but not, see, different feet. I've made a couple of discoveries. Well, I'm not going to say they're discoveries. I've had, I guess, an epiphany. Is that an epiphany? Epiphany. And so did a couple of customers. When we were on tour, not last weekend because I was at Dubbo, the weekend before at Windia. So 2 weekends ago. And then again, this was kind of reinforced to me, I guess, the weekend before that. Well, anyway, at Hill End. So this will all make sense in a minute. And these are a huge part of this video. So good morning, Carrie. Good morning, Rob. Rod. God, I can't talk this morning. Hey, Neil. So, rightio, I'm just going to launch straight into it. When we were detecting, when I was detecting with this 6000s, I was using that one with that coil. Found some good little gold, right? Nice little specie, a couple of nice little bits, blah, blah, blah. Now, I had a few targets that day that at the end of the day I didn't retrieve them. I couldn't find them and blah, blah, blah. So what happened was on the tour the other weekend, morning Matty, morning Stan, we were out on some pretty good gold ground. Now the gold's there, you just got to work for it. And a couple of people had these things and had located some targets, moved them, blah, 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 lost them, couldn't find them again, right? And given up, walked away. And I went back with these people and we did this, right, 6 times. So this is not something that just happened once and I'm making a video. We did this 6 times. And it involves these. It involves these blue cups. And it involves these minute pieces of gold. Now, I thought these were pretty small. Look at that. He won't even sit on the foam. That little fella there. I thought, if you're finding them, that's pretty good going. Then this happened. These things, at morning, Steve, these are tiny, right? Tiny. So here's what happened. These 4 bits come from 6 targets that people walked away on. Now, it was, the other 2 were those tiniest little bird-shotty leadies, right? But all 6 were targets. Now, each one of these represents about 15 to 20 minutes of losing a target, refinding it, dropping it out of the scoop, thinking you got it, not having it. It was just, it's ludicrous, right? Now, here, because what happened was I was on tour with these people and my job on tour is to try and help you find some nuggets and to also impart some knowledge on you. So what we did with these half a dozen targets is persist. Like, people wanted to walk away. They wanted their detectors back. I wouldn't give it to them. And this is what was happening. Most people run a plastic scoop of some description, right? Here's an example. These ones, to a lesser degree, are also involved, but to a slightly lesser degree. Here's the story. Swap hands real quick. what was happening is as you're swinging your coil, right, let's face it, bits like that aren't 8 foot deep. Okay? So what was happening was the machine's picking up a very, very slight signal, and you scratch the surface and it increases, so you're pretty happy you've got a target. And then said target is moved, as I always recommend with your targets, move them, and then you know they're up in your spoil, right? Now, I should say at this point, the ground is sopping wet at the moment pretty much everywhere, and I think this is why this video is so important. In dry ground, I don't know if you'd suffer from this, but what's happening is, hey Dean, people were getting the material in the scoop over the thing, half, target's gone. Pick your detector up. It's now over here where you threw something where you thought there was no target when you did your half. What's been happening, and I don't know how I'm going to do this. Turn you around. Morning. Oh, I'll just lean you against the 6000. What's happening is in the scoops, right? See here, this is a fair bit of height, right? So if this represents depth, okay, that's it's a couple of inches at least, right? What's happening is these little tiny fellas here are getting caught in the dirt and in the clay and stuff that's in the scoop, and sometimes getting out of range of the coil. So that when you're doing your across and your half method, all right, sometimes it'll sit in the bottom there and you'll get a nice bing on it. So you remove some material, give it a shake, go again, no noise. Oh, must be in the material I removed. So you get rid of that, you put that in, over the coil, no noise. Where's me target? Morning, James. So what's been happening is we did this, keep in mind, 6 times, right? 6. And 4 times they come out. What we did was, number one, I switched to twin cups. All right? Because they're a very, very thin material here. And then what I was doing, because the material was wet, was once I knew the target was in here, I was then squashing the material with my thumb into the bottom of the cup, and then slowly from the front removing material and getting the target. Now, these little things, just fair income, I reckon I dropped each one of those 3, 4, 5 times or more. It was so frustrating. But we persisted, and like 4 of the 6 targets that were walked off on turned out to be gold. Then that got me thinking, when I was getting these bits at Hill End, I'd walked off on half a dozen or more. When I was at Hill End for that 5 days, I reckon I walked off on 25. Like, they were doing my head in. And you know what? I reckon half of them were gold. So there's at least 15 or 20 bits of gold in dug holes at Hill End at the moment. I'm telling you now. They're my holes, and I've left gold in them. And that's why. Because in the dry material, when your material's all dry and dusty, and let's face it, for a few years, a lot of us have been detecting in dry and dusty conditions. This year, no, we haven't. The game hath changed. And this is because these, hang on, I've got my head cut off for that reason. Because these things are such weapons, right? They're actually better than we are. And what we need to do is exercise some patience and some, I don't know. You've got to keep at it, right? You've got to keep finding why that coil on that machine or your SDC or your Monster or whatever you're running made that noise in the first place. Because I'm telling you now, the easy cop-out is to say, oh, that's ground noise, and walk away. And I'm telling you, it ain't ground noise. It ain't a false signal. That has found something that you're having trouble recovering because of maybe you got the wrong scoop, all right? Maybe you need to squash your material down into your scoops. I like these ones a little bit better because they're a little flatter on the bottom so that, you know, you got a bit more chance of keeping your target up against the coil. Morning, Glenn. How are you, bud? Like, this is so important, guys. If you've walked off on some holes in the last, well, this gold season, I'd spend the next month or so taking your machine, going back to them, and get into it, rightio? That's exactly right. Who said that? It cut off who said it. Who said that? This is a really great comment. And I can't see who said it. It's driving me mad. There it is. Robert, good on you, bud. Robert's just made a good point. When you got your scoop right, and a lot of people do it, you'll see the stickers on a lot of coils are scratched from people doing that. And they get the scoop and they do this on the sticker. All right? That is not where your coil is. See this line and this edge of your circle? When you've got your scoop, you need to be breaking both those lines with all the material in the scoop. Rightio? So if you're doing it over the sticker, sometimes the habit's to do that. Well, you're missing half your scoop. All right? So my preferred method is on this way towards the sticker, but that's my starting point. So it's like this. And it's quite a large movement. And quite often on tours I see this or this. Now in dry soil that's going to work. In this wet garbage that's around, yes, this is relevant to the 1000, Chris. Hugely relevant. Because that thing eats those. Where are they? Where are you? Eats those little bits for brecking. So make sure when you're trying to recover your target, right, you're actually using the coil, not the sticker. Hugely important, all right? Neil, fantastic point. If you've got a scoop like this with a bit of a rolled bottom, you need to introduce a bit of that action. All right? This sort of action. And that way, you're trying to pass the maximum amount of the scoop, of the material, over. And in these wet conditions, your target could just be sitting in the material, but if you've got a chocker's scoop, might be right up here, mate. And you'll never, it's gone out of range. All right? So, in wet conditions, couple of tips. Make sure you get the entirety of the scoop over. Put less material in whatever way you're using to recover. Less material means there's less chance of that little target sitting up on top. These little bits of gold will not fall through this type of junk, right? Mate, if you've got a Knox, this is super important for you too. So less material in your scoop than you would in the dry. Shaking your scoop is almost useless. In fact, it can be a bad thing because a ball of clay might pick the target up, go to the top, and it's out of range. You throw the material, your target's lost, you want to pull your hair out and move on to the next target. If that's happening, you're leaving gold behind. I've left, it's gross, I reckon I've left like 25 bits just in the last month. And if I think back over the entire gold season, this thing here is indicate. I actually thought that the machine was a bit mental, or, you know, I hadn't noise cancelled it, or it was a hot rock, or... And look, a couple of times it was a hot rock because I recovered the damn thing. But there's a few... And there's one spot in particular, I'll even tell you where it is. The surfaced area near the cemetery at Hill End, where I walked off on a dozen targets one morning. One of them was a hot rock, and like maybe number 3. And then I started to take the easy way out and say, oh, hot rock, hot rock, hot rock. Nah. So go back to all your spots that you've been to this season before it gets too hot, and go check all your holes, because you've left gold behind. Get a flat bottom scoop. Get a set of get a set of twin cups. All right, I swear by these things. Most of my customers that get a gold, I give it to them, and then I go out in the field and they're using a scoop, and then they see me using the twin cups and they go get them out of the car. They're awesome. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I thought it was important. You might not. I'm embarrassed. I've walked away from a ton of gold this season, due to impatience, and due to this little fella being a little bit sharper than I gave it credit for. That truly is a disgustingly good gold machine. And I've put the Gold Hawk 14x9 on, and I don't think that'll be coming off anytime soon on that 6. That's my one. That's the shop's one. That's my personal machine, because I am finding them with that. So why would I, I'm happy. And I'm chopping off 14 inches of ground. So, exactly, Ben. Patience and trust your machine. Because these things are finding the gold. All right? You're giving up on them before you're getting the target. So, plenty of options for scoops. They're just what I've got in the shop. Go to Bunnings or something. There's thousands of them down there too. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Bit of a rant for Sunday morning, but if you're heading out today, be patient. If it takes 15 minutes to recover the target, recover it. Took you hours to get to the gold field. Took you ages to find the target. Just take the time to actually get the target and take it home. Because 4 out of 6 times when not one of those was less than 15 minutes to recover it after we moved it. Right? 4 out of 6 were gold. And then I felt sick after we'd made that discovery, because I have walked away. I've said it a few times now. I've walked away on a big ton of pieces of gold this gold season, and it won't be happening again. Right. Take care. Have a great Sunday. I'm not going to, show you my face again. Let's leave on some weird forward and backwards stuff on scoops. Scoops! Be patient. It's a target. It's probably not a false signal. Go back, get them all. Take care. Bye.